The elders warned her, never laugh, never smile, never let happiness touch your lips, or everyone you love will die screaming. Zainab was born under a blood moon. The night she came into the world, the hyenas stopped their calls. The river beside her village turned still as glass. And the old diviner, Mama Folyak, collapsed outside the birthing hut, her eyes rolled back, her mouth forming words no one could understand. When she finally spoke clearly, 3 days later, she said only this: that child carries death in her throat. Zainab's mother didn't believe it. Not at first. What mother would? She held her baby close, sang to her, rocked her beneath the acacia trees. But then one afternoon, when Zainab was barely 6 moons old, something happened that changed everything. The baby giggled. It was a soft sound. Sweet. The kind of sound that makes a mother's heart swell with love. But the moment it left Zainab's lips, her mother froze. Her eyes went wide. And then she began to laugh too. Not a joyful laugh. A terrible one. She laughed and laughed and laughed, clutching her chest, her face twisting in pain. She laughed until blood ran from her nose, until her legs gave out beneath her, until her heart stopped beating entirely. Zainab's father found them both in the dust. His wife dead, his daughter silent, staring up at him with round, confused eyes. That was the day the curse revealed itself. From then on, Zainab never made another sound of joy. Her father raised her in isolation, far from the other children, far from the markets and festivals. He built a small compound at the edge of the kingdom, surrounded by tall grass and thorny bushes. He taught her to speak softly, to keep her face still, to swallow down every flicker of happiness before it could escape. "You are not cursed because you are evil," he told her once, his voice heavy with sorrow. "You are cursed because something powerful wanted to punish me. And it used you to do it." Zainab grew up lonely. She watched other children from a distance, playing games she would never join. She heard music from the village and felt her chest tighten with longing. But she never danced, never sang, never let herself feel too much, because she knew what would happen if she did. Years passed. Zainab became a young woman, beautiful and sad, with eyes like storm clouds. The people of Makani spoke of her in whispers. Some called her cursed. Others called her blessed, thinking her silence was a sign of spiritual power. But no one came close, except one person. His name was Taiwo. He was a drummer, the best in the kingdom. His hands moved over the talking drum like water over stone, pulling out rhythms that made the ancestors stir in their sleep. Taiwo had heard the stories about Zainab, but he didn't believe in curses. He believed in people. So one evening, as the sun melted into the horizon, he walked to her compound and sat outside her door. He didn't ask to come in. He didn't speak. He just played. The drum sang under his palms. Low and steady at first, then rising, falling, telling a story without words. Zainab sat inside, her heart pounding. She wanted to tell him to leave. She wanted to protect him. But the sound of the drum wrapped around her like a warm cloth, and for the first time in years, she felt something close to peace. Taiwo came back the next night, and the night after that. He never asked her to speak, never pushed her to smile. He just played, and she listened, and slowly, carefully, a friendship grew between them. But friendship is dangerous when you're not allowed to feel. One evening, after months of silent visits, Taiwo did something different. He brought her a gift. A small wooden bird, carved with careful detail, its wings spread wide as if it were about to take flight. "I made this for you," he said, setting it gently on the ground between them. "Because I think you deserve to fly, even if you can't leave this place." Zainab stared at the bird. Something cracked open inside her chest. Something she had kept locked away for so long she'd forgotten it was there. She smiled. Just a little. Just for a second. But it was enough. Taiwo saw it. And he smiled back, his face lighting up with joy. "There," he said softly. "That's the real you." And then he started to laugh. Not because anything was funny, but because the smile had done something to him. The curse had latched onto that single moment of shared happiness and twisted it into something deadly. Taiwo laughed. His body shook. His hands clutched at his throat, and Zainab screamed, reaching for him, but it was too late. He laughed until his heart gave out. He died at her feet, his eyes still kind, even in death. Zainab didn't move, didn't cry. She just sat there, staring at his body, feeling the weight of every warning she'd ever been given crashing down on her like stones. She had killed him, with a smile. But the curse didn't stop there. If you're still with me, I need to know, are you feeling this story? Drop a comment and tell me where you're listening from. And if you want more tales like this, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because I've got stories that will keep you up at night. Now, let's get back to Zainab. The wind carried Taiwo's laughter beyond the compound. It drifted into the village, soft and strange, like an echo that shouldn't exist. And when the people heard it, they began to laugh too. One by one, they fell. A woman grinding millet. A man mending his roof. Children chasing each other through the dirt paths. They all stopped what they were doing and started laughing. Laughing until their lungs burned. Until blood vessels burst in their eyes. Until their hearts couldn't take it anymore. By sunrise, half the village was dead. The other half ran. They spread the word across the kingdom. The cursed girl had finally unleashed her plague. The king's advisors gathered in the great hall, arguing over what to do. Some said they should kill her. Others said they should exile her to the spirit forests where no human would ever find her. But the king, a man named Ogun, made a different choice. He went to see her himself. Ogun was old, his beard streaked with gray, his shoulders bent from the weight of ruling. But his eyes were still sharp. He had lost his own child to sickness years ago, and he understood the kind of pain that lived in Zainab's silence. When he arrived at her compound, she was sitting beside Taiwo's body, her face blank, her hands folded in her lap. "They want me to kill you," Ogun said, his voice quiet but firm. Zainab didn't look up. "Then do it." "I didn't say I would." She finally raised her eyes to his. "Why not? I've killed enough people. What's one more?" Ogun crouched down beside her, his joints cracking. "Because curses don't come from nowhere. Someone put this on you. And curses can be broken." Zainab shook her head. The diviner tried. She said there's no cure, only control. Mama Falyuk is wise, but she's not the only one who speaks to the spirits. Ogun stood, offering his hand. "Come with me. There's someone you need to meet." Zainab didn't want hope. Hope was dangerous. But something in the king's voice made her take his hand. They traveled for 3 days, moving deeper into the wild lands where few people dared to go. The trees grew taller here, their roots thick as pythons. Strange birds called from the canopy. At night, Zainab saw lights moving between the trees, shapes that weren't quite human. On the 3rd day, they reached a clearing. In the center stood a woman. She was ancient, her skin dark and lined like cracked earth, her hair white as bone. But her eyes burned with a light that didn't belong to the living world. "You brought her," the woman said, her voice like wind through dry grass. "I did, Ogun said, bowing his head. "Can you help her?" The woman studied Zainab for a long moment. Then she laughed. A sharp, bitter sound. "Help her? Child, do you even know what you are?" Zainab's throat tightened. "I'm cursed." "No." The woman stepped closer. "You're a cage." "What?" "Someone bound a spirit to you when you were born. A spirit of madness and death. Every time you feel joy, it wakes. And it spreads." The woman tilted her head. "The question is, who did this to you? And why?" Zainab's father had never told her. He'd only said it was his fault, that someone wanted to punish him. But now, standing before the spirit woman, she needed to know. "My father." "Your father stole something," the woman interrupted. "From a powerful priestess. A sacred relic that belonged to her family for generations. When she demanded it back, he refused. So she cursed his bloodline. She bound the spirit to your laughter, knowing it would destroy everything he loved." Zainab's hands curled into fists. "Where is she?" "Dead. She died the same night you were born. But the curse lived on." "Then how do I break it?" The woman smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "You don't break it, girl. You feed it." "What?" "The spirit is hungry. It feeds on joy on life. The more you deny it, the stronger it gets. But if you give it what it wants willingly, it will consume itself. Zainab's stomach dropped. You're saying I have to laugh. I'm saying you have to let go. Completely. One final moment of pure, unguarded joy. The spirit will take it all. And when it does, it will burn out like a fire with no wood left to eat. And what happens to me? The woman didn't answer right away. Then, quietly, you'll be free. But you won't survive it. Silence. Ogun stepped forward. There has to be another way. There isn't. The woman turned her back. The choice is hers. Zainab stood there, her heart pounding, her mind spinning. She could live the rest of her life in silence, alone, always afraid. Or she could end it. End the curse. End the killing. She thought of Taiwo. His kindness. His smile. She thought of her mother. She thought of all the people who had died because of her. And she made her choice. I'll do it, she said. Ogun grabbed her arm. Zainab, no. I have to. She pulled away gently. It's the only way. The woman nodded. Then come. We do this now, before you lose your courage. They walked to the center of the clearing. The woman drew symbols in the dirt with ash and crushed herbs. She chanted in a language Zainab didn't know. The air grew thick, heavy, like the moment before a storm breaks. When I tell you, the woman said, you laugh. You let yourself feel everything you've been holding back. All the joy you've buried. All the love you've hidden. You let it out and you don't stop. Understand? Zainab nodded. The woman began to chant louder. The symbols in the dirt began to glow. And then she said it. Now. Zainab closed her eyes. She thought of her mother's face. The warmth of her father's hands. The sound of Taiwo's drum. The carved bird he'd given her. The way the sun looked setting over the savanna. The taste of ripe mango. The feel of rain on her skin. And she laughed. It started small. A soft chuckle. Then it grew. Louder. Deeper. Not forced. Not fake. Real. Pure joy pouring out of her like light from a cracked vessel. The spirit surged. She felt it rising inside her, clawing, desperate, trying to spread. But there was nowhere for it to go. The woman's magic held it in place, forcing it to feed only on Zainab. She laughed until her chest hurt, until her vision blurred, until she felt her heart straining, breaking, giving out. And in that final moment, she felt something she'd never felt before. Freedom. The curse shattered. The spirit burned away. And Zainab fell, her body hitting the ground softly, like a leaf. She was smiling when she died. Ogun knelt beside her, tears running down his weathered face. The woman placed a hand on his shoulder. She saved your kingdom, she said quietly. Remember her for that. And they did. In the years that followed, the people of Makani told stories about the girl who carried death in her laughter. But they also told stories about her courage, her sacrifice, the way she chose to end her own suffering so that others could live. They carved her name into the bark of the oldest baobab tree. They sang songs about her at festivals. And every year, on the night of the blood moon, they lit candles in her honor. Because Zainab had done what no one thought possible. She had turned a curse into a gift. And though she was gone, her story lived on, passed from elder to child, from griot to listener, carried on the wind like laughter that would never die.